Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Scaled. In this episode, we're going to take a look at this past week's 205 Live, NXT and NXT UK. First up, we're going to start off with 205 Live, taking place right after SmackDown Live. We'll kick things off with 205 Live General Manager Drake Maverick talking about the tournament to crown the #1 contender to face Buddy Murphy for the Cruiserweight Championship at WrestleMania. I think we're all pretty sure that the match is going to be on the pre-show, even though it should be on the main card. In our first quarterfinal match of the night, we have Kalisto taking on Tony Nese. Now, I'll admit, I just recently started watching 205 Live, so I'm still getting a little familiar with some of these guys like Tony Nese. Him and Kalisto put on a pretty good match. These two work very well together. Towards the end of the match, Tony Nese really begins to dominate, delivering a devastating belly-to-back suplex, which leads to the finish and him moving on to the semifinals. And giving this match an 8, like I said, Kalisto and Tony Nese work really well together. I was happy to see Kalisto not advancing because I've seen Kalisto fight for the Cruiserweight Championship before. I'm just now kind of being introduced to Tony Nese, so it's pretty cool to see how a guy like this is moving forward. And from what I understand, Tony and Buddy Murphy have a little bit of a history as a tag team, and after the match it even showed Buddy backstage watching and being very happy for his former tag team partner or current tag team partner. Maybe somebody can correct me in the comments. Backstage we got Gentleman Jack Gallagher and Humberto Carrillo. In this wasn't really much. It was pretty short to the point. From what I saw, from what I understood, Jack Gallagher is just more of Humberto's mentor, trying to take him under his wing. It seems to me like they're just planting seeds, possibly for a future rivalry between these two. It could be very interesting. I know that both of these guys are phenomenal athletes. I'm just going to give this a 3. It was short, to the point, and did what it needed to do. In recent weeks, Mike Kanellis has been trying to impress General Manager Drake Maverick so that he can earn a spot in the #1 contenders tournament. This week, Mike and Maria go to Drake and they start begging him for a spot in the tournament and start begging him for a match. Well, Drake doesn't give it to him this week and instead sends them home, but promises Mike Kanellis a match the following week, which he doesn't specify if it's going to be a quarterfinal match or if it's going to be a qualifying match for him to advance into the tournament or not. But he gets Mike and Maria out of his face for the time being. Giving this segment a 5 because I'm kind of curious where this is going to go with Mike and Maria. Is he going to be able to get into the tournament? I love that Maria is back in WWE and that she got to have a spot in the Women's Royal Rumble this year. Really exciting to see. In the main event, we have another quarterfinal match for the #1 contenders tournament. We have the Brian Kendrick taking on Drew Gulak. Personally, I kind of wanted to see Brian Kendrick win this one because yes, he is a 20-year veteran. He had never had a match at WrestleMania, and they built that up so much in the commentary of this match. I personally thought he was going to win. Unfortunately, he didn't. Drew Gulak got the win in a very technically sound matchup. It was really good. Giving this a 7.5. I would not be opposed to seeing this match again. It is a shame for Brian Kendrick. Overall, this week's episode of 205 Live comes out to a 5.88. Now on to this week's episode of NXT. We start things off with Johnny Gargano coming out to the ring, talking for a little bit, and eventually being interrupted by Tommaso Ciampa, who comes out and officially reunites with Johnny Gargano to reform DIY, as there are chants throughout the entire Full Sail arena. This was awesome. Giving this an 8. Gotta include these next 2 segments in with this just because they're so short. Backstage we see Ricochet and Aleister Black officially entering into the Dusty Rhodes Classic as a team. Kind of leads me to believe that the finals are going to feature Ricochet and Aleister Black versus DIY. Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa exiting the building where Candice LeRae is standing, seemingly upset with Johnny, questioning what he's doing, and he assures her to trust him. And I think we all should, because we're all pretty positive that Johnny versus Ciampa is going to happen at NXT TakeOver New York. Next up, we have a women's tag team match featuring Taynara Conti and Xia Li taking on Vanessa Bourne and Aaliyah. Giving this match a 6, it was a very good match. I love how they're forming women's tag teams so that way Sasha and Bayley will have plenty of opponents. More on that later. Huge surprise for the Full Sail audience from NXT this week. Outside the building, we get a shot of Velveteen Dream arriving and then being confronted by Adam Cole and the rest of the Undisputed Era, clearly leading to a match between Velveteen Dream versus Adam Cole for the North American Championship. Given this segment a 6, really looking forward to that match, most likely to happen at NXT TakeOver New York. Up next, we get a rare occurrence on NXT where we have 2 big guys Dominik Dijakovic and Keith Lee battling it out and ending in a double countout. This was actually really good. Dijakovic at one point did a moonsault off the apron onto Keith Lee on the outside, which led to the double count out. Giving this a 7, it was very hard hitting, very fast paced, very entertaining. Up next, we have a huge surprise for the Full Sail audience as the Boston Hug Connection, the new women's tag team champions, make their way out to the ring and talk about how they are going to accept challenges not only from women tag teams on Raw and on SmackDown, but also from NXT. The Full Sail audience was on their feet for Sasha and Bayley here, telling them how much they deserve the tag team championships and everything. Really awesome stuff. Really glad that these women's tag team titles are going to be spread throughout WWE, not just on Raw, not just on SmackDown, but they're also going to be involved in NXT women tag teams as well. Given this a 9.5, this could potentially lead to Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke challenging the Boston Hug Connection for those women's tag team titles, which would be really awesome because I could see them being the team that take the titles from Sasha and Bayley and progressing a rivalry between the 4 Horsewomen versus 4 Horsewomen. Be really awesome. Don't see that happening at WrestleMania, but maybe shortly after would be really awesome. And then speaking of 4 Horsewomen, we have Shayna Baszler in the main event defeating Mia Yim in a brutal match. Going to give this a 7.5. Damn good match. I gotta give props to Shayna Baszler. She is undoubtedly in the top 5 heels right now in WWE. I mean, her, Charlotte, Daniel Bryan, they are just doing wonders as heels right now. I cannot wait for Shayna to be brought up to the main roster and hopefully replace Ronda. It's on the mic, Shayna is so much better at cutting promos than Ronda is, and it would be really awesome to see a true dominant female heel on the Raw roster as a legitimate threat to Becky's Raw Women's Championship once she wins it at WrestleMania. Overall, NXT is going to get a 7.33 for this week, and on to NXT UK. Kicking us off this week with NXT UK is Gentleman Jack Gallagher taking on Tyler Bate. I gotta say, this match blew me away. I was really impressed by it. Really, I mean, these two were just technically sound, brilliant with the counters that they were delivering. I really like that cruiserweights are able to appear on 205 Live and NXT UK. Really awesome how they're moving, allowing superstars to move around among those 3 brands. This match was definitely something different that I've not seen in a while. I mean, it was a technical masterpiece. It really was. I mean, these 2 guys really put it all out there. Essentially, it was a submission match, and I loved it. It wasn't too fast-paced, and it wasn't too slow-paced. It was just the perfect amount of speed, and I mean, it was, I don't want to say flawless, but it was near flawless. I gotta give this a 9. Though it seems WWE has gotten rid of the selfie videos, NXT still seems to be pulling them off. The one with Eddie Dennis, I'm gonna give a 5. It wasn't bad. It was pretty much to the point. It has me curious. Up next, we have a terrific match between 2 heavyweights, Walter versus Cassius Ohno. Wow, this was, for 2 big guys, this was a good match. Giving this a 7, this was really good. Not that familiar with Walter, I've just heard a lot about him. I've seen a couple of his matches. He is very dominant. I can't really see him being in NXT for very long. I see him being called up to the main roster fairly soon. In another selfie video, we have Ligero, I hope I pronounced that correctly, talking about Connors and their match next week. Giving this segment a 4, basically just to let us know that this match is happening next week. And in the main event, we have a terrific tag team match for the UK Tag Team Championship featuring one of my favorite tag teams, Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan, taking on the Grizzled Young Veterans. I personally feel like it's time for Burch and Lorcan to get a tag team title run because, man, that match that they had against the Undisputed Era last year at Chicago too was just amazing. It really was, and it shows that Lorcan and Burch are an incredibly underrated tag team, and the fact that they can go out here with a completely different team and put on a match just as good is phenomenal, and I really hope that they get another shot at the tag team titles, and not just that, but an actual run with the UK tag team titles would be amazing for these guys. I'm giving this match an 8. The highlight of this match for me definitely had to be when Lorcan and Gibson, both the legal men, had both of the illegal men in submission holds, and they're just staring at each other, and then they start slapping each other back and forth as they're as their partners are in the others' submission maneuvers. It was a really awesome moment. Overall, NXT UK is going to get a 6.6 for this week. And that's going to do it for this episode of Scaled, guys. For more videos like this, hit that like, hit that subscribe. Visit me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Patreon. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.